as we wrap up that hour and start a new one here, and we're going to get to all this stuff. I want to see you in one of those Odell Beckham kilts. I think that would be a good, of all the
Why would you do that here? Why would you say that?
That would be a good look.
I wouldn't let you do that, no.
I may try to do that one day. Roddy Piper style.
Do it with
It's
no
not
longer
Rowdy
That's not Detroit, Jay.
Piper
That's
style.
not who you are, Jay.
I understand he wore a kilt, but it's not exactly the same thing.
Would you wear it? Would you wear it?
Oh, Grady, you could pull it off, no doubt. No doubt.
Wouldn't look good.
I would love to see those legs.
What?
They ain't had sun in a
What
long
you all
time.
don't know, what you all don't know is that he borrowed that from my closet. All right, we welcome you back to Get Up, another hour coming to you live from the Seaport District of Pier 17, brought to you by Chase. And here's the menu for this hour. We're getting up with Golden State. Houston, we have a problem. The biggest NBA game of the year came down to the final shot. Actually, two of them. We've got all the highlights in 1 minute. Plus, Marcus has something to say about Kevin Durant that is really, really bad news for his next team. Are you listening, New York Knicks? That's on the way. And is the Kyrie era over in Boston after another tough night? Will we ever see him in that gym as a member of the home team again? Answers on the way as we get up with you starting right now. And this hour begins our game of the night, late night last night. Jay Will, let's talk about it. KD and the Warriors taking on James Harden and the Rockets in game 4. And we're going to start with just a series of physicality, the tone set early.
I like this. This is playoff basketball, and that's exactly what James Harden is supposed to do. You attack the paint, that inevitably opens up the three-point shot.
Physical play. Jalen, these teams starting now to get sick of each other when you can sense it. Second quarter, Harden, watch him here working on Klay Thompson. Oh, and he draws the foul.
And that's also what happens when you play against a team in the playoffs and back-to-back seasons. You get so familiar with them, you got to play better than the X's and O's.
Now watch this sequence here. You see Kevon Looney down there for what feels like forever. Well, and then at the end of this, Chris Paul is going to wind up going down after the shot. Take another look. Durant with the elbow. Does he catch him in the face? Chris Paul goes down.
Well, that's what happens when you're a little fella and you're in the paint. They're going to swing those elbows. You're going to get hit.
Story of my life.
Early third now. Here's Harden working on Draymond. Yes, and Draymond goes down. Take another look. You tell me, is this the flop or not? He's holding his head like he got hit awfully hard. You make up your own mind.
Soccer player?
Meanwhile, here was Draymond after the game. Listen to this.
Told y'all before I get fouled on James Harden three-pointers, y'all thought I was lying. And people think I should be making it up.
All right, there you go.
But how about this? Imagine the physicality of a guy like James Harden to still make the shot.
Yep, that shot went down. And then here, you see Draymond's had it. He's shoving Chris Paul out of the way. It is official. These teams don't like each other, and that's a very good thing. Now Warriors down 9 after 3 quarters. Let's get to where this game is decided. Final 12 minutes. Warriors at this point are down by 8. Draymond Green bringing it up. PJ Tucker has other ideas. Oh, he picks his pocket from behind. Rockets up 10 after the lay-in.
Great hustle play by Chris Paul. PJ Tucker with the dunk.
2 minutes and change to go. Durant, that's unstoppable.
Absolutely. Get KD in an isolation situation, gets the free throw line jump.
Under 30 seconds to go. It's a 5-point game. Steph, no.
I didn't like that
5-point game.
shot.
Steph, yes.
I like that shot.
Like that one a lot. Now it's a 2-point game. So the Warriors have to foul Harden, and they do with 11 seconds left. He makes the first. Oh, no, he misses the second. It's a 1-possession game. A 3-point difference with 11 seconds left. Where are you going for the game-tying shot? Of course you're going Durant. That's a good look. It's no good. Wait a minute. We got another chance. Here's Steph for the tie. Oh, it's no good. The Rockets get the rebound and they hold on. Take another look. Durant with an open look for him. That's a good look. By Steph standards, that's a good look. It doesn't go, and the Rockets hang on. James Harden, 38 points, 10 rebounds. We're tied at 2 games apiece. The Warriors in a dogfight.
It's just great basketball out there, man. It's just, as a player, you know, being tied up in the series, you know, the 2-2, you kind of feel a little different, but you know, the way both teams are playing with such aggression and intensity, and it's fun to be out there. So we're looking forward to Game 5.
Most teams can't go back at them. Most teams don't have the personnel to, you know, compete with them defensively and then offensively go back at them. So that's all we're doing. Like we know, you know, what's at stake. We know who we're playing against. We're not going to let up.
This is what it's about. You know, this is the NBA playoffs, the best teams in the league, and we're playing a great team, and you know we know what the game plan is, and we know how good they are. So it's just about competition. That's it.
Here's how good they are, and here's how these teams match up. The Rockets have played Golden State this tough The Warriors are 6-5 against Houston and 32-5 against everyone else in the playoffs since they added Kevin Durant. And so, Mr. Rose, I'm looking right at you. Are the Warriors in trouble?
They're not in trouble, but this is a long series, especially when you get beat at your own game.
It is by definition now a long series.
Yes.
Can the Rockets win it?
They can. I don't think they will. However, if you're the Golden State Warriors, you can't get outscored by 27 points from the three-point line. That's something they normally beat opponents with. That's what James Harden is talking about when he says normally teams can't go back at them. That's what he means. Have a level of firepower that can shoot down the Golden State Warriors like they did yesterday. And let's not underestimate this for James Harden. He also had 10 rebounds. And the reason why I bring that up, they played a lot of small ball. And so therefore, if they didn't get killed on the boards, it allows them defensively to still challenge a lot of shots on the perimeter.
Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant combined for 64 points. Klay Thompson had 11 points. Klay Thompson, where art thou? Now, I know you're chasing around James Harden. I know it takes away your legs. But, like, in order for this team to win a championship, all three of those players need to click offensively. They're not a great defensive team. I think Draymond could be a little bit tougher, but that's not who they are. They're going to have to beat you with their firepower. Now, they have more weapons than the Houston Rockets do. I think the physicality of the game is different, but Klay Thompson needs to arrive. They will not win until Klay Thompson arrives.
Three things have to happen for Houston to win, and I think they can happen. The more physical the game is, the better it is for Houston. The way the game is officiated will have a huge impact on how this series ends, number one. Number two is, let's not underestimate P.J. Tucker, because P.J. Tucker's been absolutely ridiculous. He's got best plus minus in the last two games. Why? Because 50-50 balls. He rebounds the ball. He's 3 for 6 from the three-point line. And I'll tell you one thing. You can't guard Kevin Durant, but he makes Kevin Durant work for every single basket he gets. And then finally, Houston wins if the Warriors continue to be who they are right now. They're passing the ball 40 fewer times a game, 30% fewer times in this series than they did last. Why? This is not Warriors basketball. Partially because Houston makes you play that way with all the switching. When people switch, they take you out of your offense. Now you've got to make a one-on-one play. Well, if they're going to do that, they've got to find more ways to get better shots and play in a rhythm. Because right now, the rhythm of the game, the last two games, not for the whole series, but the last two games has been all Houston.
But for so many years, we talked about the three-point prowess of the Golden State Warriors. Other than the Splash Brothers and KD, you don't fear anybody shooting threes. Nope. That's what allows KD to now go one-on-one. And KD is an assassin when it comes to being a scorer. So he's not going to necessarily be a volume three-point shooter, a guy that's going to jack up 15 threes. He's going to play mid-range. And therefore, the Houston Rockets are going small, switching, and it's bombs away on the other end.
And listen, Jalen, I mean, I want to emphasize your point. I just stole your box score from you here because I want the exact numbers. Kevin Durant, 2 of 6 from 3. Iguodala, 1 of 4. Klay Thompson, 1 of 6. Steph Curry, 4 of 14. They shot 24% from 3 last night.
Klay Thompson is shooting 23% on uncontested threes. Uncontested threes. I think a lot of that has to do with the legs he's trying to utilize to guard James Harden running around.
Gordon and Klay Thompson, Gordon is wearing down Steph Curry on the other end, being physical. Like, they play physical offense, Houston. When they play against you, yeah, they shoot a ton of threes, but they're physical. Gordon, look at the bodies on this Houston team compared to the bodies on this Golden State team.
Which sets it up perfectly for this point. I want to keep going here, but I want you to hear the commentary that was made about exactly that, the physicality in this series and how it's impacting it. Listen to this comparison that Steve Kerr made after the game.
They got a lot of middle linebackers on that team. They're sturdy, and we look like more like volleyball players, long and lean. But we've done this many times before. Everybody tries to be physical with us, and because they should. That's the best way to try to beat us.
We go into a fight thinking it's a fair fight, and it's not. They're doing whatever it takes to win. And not that they're like doing anything dirty or nothing like that, but they're doing whatever it takes to win. And we're just kind of rolling in like, oh yeah, we'll box, and they slamming us. So we got to just change our mindset. And I think if we change our mindset, then we'll be just fine.
Where does that come from? How do you change your mindset? How in the world is this happening?
Draymond needs to change his mindset because he flopped on that one little foul by James Harden, barely brushing the side of his head. I think he sets the tone for this team as well. Look, I think Kevin Durant has a toughness, even though he's tall, he's wiry. He likes that. You saw him body up CP3 a couple of times last night. I think the physicality affects way more in Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry. Because I think the only way for them to combat that physicality is by them making shots. They don't combat that on a defensive end. They don't fight you.
When you talk about physicality, you talk about it. Let's bring a football player into this conversation. Read the body language for me in this swag. Tell me what we're seeing here, because we're watching a Houston team that in almost every way feels like they're beating Golden State at their own game.
When you play on the concrete, they call it bullet ball. That's what they're playing. Look, when Golden State was up 3-1 on Cleveland, you remember how physical Cleveland got? You remember the noise and the chirping and the physical nature that they played? Look, Draymond can say what he wants to say. This is not who Golden State is. They're not about to change who they are and become a physical basketball team. To me, they've never been physical. They had Zaza, who would play tough at the rim. They had Draymond, who would do. Draymond is. I don't know if Draymond is necessarily physical as opposed to just taking shots.
He's like gimmicky too.
Yeah, physical is different. Physical is like Charles Oakley. Physical is P.J. Tucker. And you talk about P.J. Tucker body. The other thing P.J. Tucker is doing to Golden State, he's just outworking everybody. Like he's just literally going harder for longer and wanting to secure the basketball a lot more than they do.
And we should laud the will that the Houston Rockets play with, because they have a few what I call fire hydrants out there. James Harden is physical. Shumpert is physical. Tucker's physical. CP3 is also physical. They embody a small lineup, but we can't underestimate the skill. This is why Houston actually won. James Harden is making hellacious, tough, contested shots and scoring almost 40 points per game and getting 10 rebounds. That was the main difference.
Is he rewriting his playoff narrative right now? You and I were sitting here a year ago, right around this time, watching him not carrying his team, him missing shots. Is he rewriting that a little bit?
You just talked about it earlier. This month.
Yeah.
Not this series. So he's rewriting it, but to be continued. And there's a lot of work to be done. And by the way, we can't only judge the outcome. He missed a free throw late.
Yes, he did.
And so now all of a sudden, if they make a three and they go into overtime and they lose, that's what we're actually talking about.
But here's the question to you guys, and you take this, Jay. For a guy like myself that's watching this series unfold, aren't they just one bad James Harden game away from losing the whole series?
That's why he needs to be spectacular.
That's my point.
He can't be margin.
That's who he is.
He has to be spectacular. I will say the one thing that could be a hindrance to Golden State, who's the workhorse on that team? Like, who's the guy that wants to do all that dirty work?
Draymond Green.
It used to be, but Draymond Green, like, kind of feels like almost in a way this year, it feels like he thinks he's the same as Kevin Durant or Stephen Curry or Klay, and he's not. It's a different role that he's kind of taken on.
Boogie doesn't fix that.
It's fascinating.
Because Boogie's a bad matchup for Houston because of the way they strike out.
He's not out there on the floor. I tell you right now, the Warriors find themselves in a position I'm not sure any of us thought they would see at all this postseason. As far as the Celtics are concerned,